Master Your Mindset Radio, Episode 34.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to conquer limiting beliefs and transform your world with your gifting and purpose. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey everybody, welcome back friends to another episode. I am truly honored today to have with me Dr. Jackie Black, who is someone that I count a lot of my learning about being a coach to. I give her a lot of credit for insights to helping me grow in what I'm doing professionally and with my purpose. But Dr. Jackie is a well-known marriage educator. She's a board-certified coach. She's a PhD. She does a lot of speaking. She does a lot of coaching. And she has a unique slice in the world there focusing on couples and more recently couples in trouble, but also couples dealing with illness. And we'll have her talk about all of that. So thank you so much, Dr. Jackie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here with you today.
It's very exciting for me. Just so you guys know, I am a previous student of hers and always admired her intelligence, her poise, her ability to find the true issues in a coaching situation and teach that to all of us. So I was thrilled when she agreed to talk to you guys today. And, first, before we sort of dive into what's going on in our world and how that impacts marriages and relationships, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing and sort of where your gifting came from and your particular niche as it relates to couples and relationships.
I've been working with couples for many, many years. I fell into the world of grief and loss. And literally it came to me. And so I worked in the cancer community for many years and the AIDS and HIV community. And my subspecialty really was working with couples and families. So it has just always been a passion for me. Relationships are our most important, our love relationships are our most important relationships, and they influence us, I think, the deepest. And so I really always wanted to support people to have the best relationships that they can. And it's tough. It's tough because love is not enough.
Right.
So what else do you need?
You say I noticed on Facebook in one of your posts, you say that marriages don't suddenly crumble and fall apart. I think something that I tend to see is a lack of focus on that. So you're saying, look, this is the most important relationship. This is not something you wait until you're in crisis. This is something that you invest in along the way.
Yes, I hope that that's true. So intimacy is learned. Vulnerability is learned. We don't come to any of these experiences, these strategies, these ways of interacting with each other naturally. We're naturally defended. Not naturally, but as we grow up through childhood, through a confluence of events, we become defended. And in relationships, what you really want to do is be undefended. So you have to relearn vulnerability, open-heartedness, and really being able to listen to somebody, not through our lens, what does that mean about me, but to listen to someone and say, what does it mean about them? What are they telling me about them?
Wow, that's a huge mindset shift in not allowing something to be just defined by your position. So you're looking at things really through their eyes, if I can simplify that. And that's what you mean by being undefended. That is such an interesting word. I don't think I've ever heard that concept before, defended versus undefended.
Yeah, we have all these coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms, and as human beings, we need them as individuals. When we become we, I bring my 100% self and you bring your 100% self, and we co-create the we. And in that we, there is, I want to say, a requirement to be present with each other, for each other, and in the presence of each other.
Yes, the we, co-creating the we.
Mm-hmm. And so if we bring our coping mechanisms and our defense mechanisms, then I can't get out and you can't get in.
Interesting. So even if I grow up in a situation where, let's say, I have very positive influences as parents, my parents, the people around me, and perhaps not go through a great deal of trauma as a child, am I still entering a relationship without the full skill set and ability to be as vulnerable as I need to be in order for that relationship to grow?
Yes, I believe that's true, and that it's learned, that we learn these skills, and they're skills and strategies. Let me give you a good example. Why? So we date. Maybe we're 15 or 16. I know they do it younger today. I don't want to go there. So we date, we're 14, 15, 16, and then we get rejected. Or we like somebody and they don't like us.
Yes.
That's a wound, and that's real. And it stays with us. So all the wonderful parenting and all the wonderful modeling that we grew up with, suddenly the thing that is front and center for us is that wounding. Mm-hmm. And most people will crumble under that wounding. There will be an impact. They'll be impacted, they'll be influenced, and they'll be influenced moving forward.
Yes.
And it's really the rare person that will be able to say, oh, that's not about me, that's about the other person, and then really draw on all of that good parenting.
I read this quote once, I put it in my book, I love it, that your wounding is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility.
Yes. Here, absolutely.
So we walk into these relationships with these wounds, and I think that in all the people I've talked to and trying to uncover limiting beliefs and things that are controlling us, and I've found that often people don't even remember or identify a wound. We can at times. I can remember a more traumatic event, perhaps like when my father died, that is traumatic enough to make me feel like if I chose to go there, that what men always leave, or I have no security, or whatever that looks like as a younger person, right? But a lot of times there are these smaller woundings along the way, and like you say, if we're dating younger, we're exploring relationships, and often we don't remember those wounds, but it's this compilation that we bring then to our marriage to say, here I am, I'm a compilation of all these woundings.
Right. And when there's the 90-10 rule, that is that 10% of what goes on in your relationship is current or present. 90% of your behavior is reactive, not responsive.
Wow.
So it's the integrated adult 10% of the time that is responsive and dealing with current material with your partner. 90% of the time you are reacting from an old place, an old wound, an old mindset, a faulty belief.
Yeah, wow.
That has nothing to do with the person that you're in the relationship with, right?
90% of the time.
90% of the time, yes.
And would that include then, if I get in an argument with my spouse a month ago over something that really bothers me, that may create something I hold on to, I harbor, then that actually becomes part of the 90%, does it not? Even though it was just a month ago.
Not really. It becomes unresolved. It's an unresolved part of the 10%.
Okay.
And it will affect your relationship because it will become unresolved anger or upset. Unresolved anger and upset is resentment.
Yes, resentment. So that's really part of the 10% ongoing that you need to heal. So what kind of tools do you give people? Give us an idea at a high level, because I know when you coach individuals, the whole power of coaching is that it is specific, but give us some ideas at a high level, what kind of tools you give couples, individuals, so that they move out of the 90% a little more, right, into the present.
One thing that's really important and that will distinguish people who are appropriate for coaching versus therapy is that they are already taking responsibility for whatever it is they have, that they recognize that they have created exactly what they have, which is the good news and the bad news. And the good news about that is if they've created it, they can change it, right? So whatever is going on in our lives that we don't like, we can change. So people need to be able to take that responsibility. The other thing is that differentiation, so that there's a place where each person stops and starts, that they're not merged, that they're not codependent, that my mood isn't dependent on you liking me or you approving of me or you thinking that the thing I did is good. Or is acceptable or pleases you in some way, that we really do understand that we have legitimate and different needs and values, and that we have different reactions and responses to the same stimulus, to the same event. And because that creates big problems in relationships. If there's an event A, I have one reaction and you have another. And then you say, well, why do you feel that way? That's silly. It's like, well, no, that's how it's affecting me.
Right. And you find the couple then drifting apart on that issue because they don't accept each other's reaction to it.
Yes. And on a deeper level, it's scary. It is one of the biggest challenges for couples when they don't agree on those kinds of emotional things, because it's almost a threat. What does that mean if you don't agree with me? What does that mean? What does that mean about me if you don't see this the same way I do?
And then you tend to see that experience and you put it in the context of an earlier bad experience, right? I'm going to get rejected by you. Does this mean you don't really love me? Does this mean, something negative about me or about our relationship, and just putting it and seeing it through that lens?
Yes. That's called making meaning in my world, right? Making meaning. And so there, for example, anger or conflict. There are people who believe that there's something wrong with the relationship if there's any anger or conflict. Well, that's a faulty belief or a faulty mindset. So that needs to be challenged and changed. Now, that doesn't mean that you can yell and scream at each other or call each other names or withhold or shut down. Those are behaviors. But the idea that I have a feeling and my feeling is anger or upset or disappointment or disillusionment, that can be mine, and it doesn't have to threaten you or our we.
So are you really talking about almost a fair way to fight, if you will, sort of a way to be angry that's okay? I have to put in here, just from my own worldview, because I use scripture in my life a lot to frame things. And there's a scripture that says, be angry, but do not sin. And it always said to me, there's a right way to be angry. So in the context of a loving relationship, what is that right way to be angry?
In my worldview, the right way to be angry is to identify your legitimate feeling, but your behavior is driven by your values. And so I would behave in a way that was responsible and respectful. I would behave in a way that continued to be caring, even though I was angry. So I'm not suggesting that people have a monotone or some silly modulated tone of voice, right, or sing-songing sweet, right? There's no Stepford wife here.
Right.
So I can be angry, I can be heated, my face can, sometimes I furrow my brow or pucker my lips. My shoulders might be more stiffer. But my vocabulary is really going to be I message focused. I'm going to be letting you know about me. I think, I feel, I need, I want, I didn't like. So I was hurt by. Right. So when we lash out, when we are angry, and this is particularly true about parents with children, then you are out of personal integrity. Wow. Because we don't act on our feelings. That's acting out. That's having a tantrum. And tantrums for adults are out of integrity. There is no tantruming.
Wow. That's good, because I think a lot of us have tantrums. It's hard to say that, and I say that, and I wonder if I can own that. But we really do, don't we? I mean, unless we're willing to work on that, we step out of that. If we don't have control of our anger, we're not making it about us and not about them, then we're like a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum.
Right. And we're, with all due respect, we're there because we're afraid.
Okay.
You see, when we are committed and we are attached, the more attached we are, the more we care, the more invested and involved we are, the more hurtable we are. Because the risk of loss is greater and greater and greater. So I was just going to say, so that's why people tantrum. It's why they fly off the handle, because they're worried and they're scared. I always say to couples, the bigger the behavior, the louder the voice, the more scared you are. Now, the fact that we can bring cognition and understanding to it doesn't make the behavior okay, but it does create a container that we can understand it and then make better choices.
So we have fear behind a lot of the things that we do in our relationships that are negative.
Yes. Yes.
And as an example, if you had a couple who, I think in a lot of ways we get married and we sort of bumble our way into it. I mean, I'm not sure that many people have the amazing advice of someone like you to guide them. If you were to be, in front of all the churches before the weddings happen, before the marriages happen, and then, give me 6 months with you guys first, right? Let me give you the tools. So we sort of bumble our way into it, and then we end up inevitably hurting each other along the way. And it seems like once you get hurt in one way, isn't it natural to have a fear that that's going to repeat itself and repeat itself?
Yeah, and it's actually worse than that. It's more than a fear. We believe that we will be hurt. If we are hurt the first time, then that experience turns into a faulty belief. This is going to happen again. And that actually is the seed for holding grudges. Holding grudges is actually a coping mechanism. And I hold a grudge because I need to keep reminding you that that was not okay, so you don't do it again.
Oh, okay. It's not because I want you to pay a price. It's that I
No.
don't want you to do it again.
Yes, most coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms are for us, not against somebody else. If you're in a relationship and somebody's acting out against you, you have a way bigger problem.
Oh, wow. Can you say that again? That is so insightful.
Yes, we act in relationships on our own behalf for ourselves, not against our partners.
Wow. So you said if someone is actually against you, we're at a whole different level, and that is not where most people are, right?
Right, correct.
So that is, oh my gosh, that's so helpful. I can feel like a lot of people right now are going to listen to that and have an aha moment, because I think when we get into those situations, we take our corners right away and we think we're being attacked. And you're saying it's generally, unless it gets to that level, it's not about you, it's about them.
Right. I'm only attacking you because it's the way that I protect myself feels like being attacked to you.
That's amazing. That is so helpful.
And it absolutely does. It's not like we're making it up. We have proof. We can say, you said this, you look that way,
Yeah.
And the line that we cross is when we say, I know what you meant. And that's inaccurate. And that is a wounding behavior in itself. When we think that we know what people mean, well, you meant it. You wanted to hurt me. That's beyond the pale. That is completely unacceptable. And it's often not true. Doesn't have any resemblance to the truth.
Right. And so you say that to the person, it doesn't land with them because they say, that's not what I meant. And there's no connection to that, the behavior, to the response, to the meaning that you're assigning to it. And more often than not is what you're saying. Most people never intended it to be that way. And so we're not actually making any inroads to understanding our partner in terms of where they're coming from with their fears and their woundings and their hurt and and all the things that they're trying to self-protect.
Right. And now you've got two defended people who are supposed to be who not only are supposed to want to be in a relationship where they are connected,
Yeah.
where it's safe for them to be emotionally vulnerable, available, for them to be their best and most brilliant, passionate self and be loved, to be able to be imperfect and loved anyway.
Right.
And when people are defended, they lose that ability to be open-hearted and to extend empathy and compassion.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. So you've got these two people. What tools do you give them? How do you bring them out of their corners? I have this image of them in the boxing ring, right? Taking their corners. In a posture of defense with their hands up, defending their face. It's very much visual for me. And you're trying to get them to come out of their corner, out of a posture of defense. And so this has got to be a learned behavior. We need tools. We need ways to do this. We have to step out and trust if we do this, the other person will receive it. Because that's also a fear, right? If I step out and do this.
Yes, but no trust. It's not about trust. It's about, you're going to love this. It's about an agreement. It's about a commitment that I make to you and you make to me.
Okay.
So you don't ever want to become vulnerable unless the other person knows you're becoming vulnerable and they are agreeing to be welcoming of your vulnerability and that they will be vulnerable in your presence.
Wow.
So it's co-agreement, co-committed, co-created. You don't do any of these things by yourself. It's like, don't try this at home.
Yeah.
Because if your partner doesn't know that you are going to risk being undefended because you see that the benefit is so huge,
yeah,
then they have to know, they have to be on board. You need their buy-in and you need their participation and their contribution. That's why we talk about garbage and taking out the trash and making the bed and doing all that stuff. We're not talking about household chores ever. We're talking about contribution and participation. And it's the left brain that says, well, if you take out the trash, then you'll, no. So the left brain cannot be involved when it comes to being open-hearted and vulnerable and operating in a space from that place for more of that.
So you're able to get people, I mean, this is at least what you do, and you hope the outcome is in your coaching, to jointly agree to go to that space together. Are you giving them actual tools that in the moment, in the heat of the moment, they're using words, they're using some kind of gesture, some kind of way of saying, let's go to that place together? What does that look like practically?
In the heat of the moment, it's important that everybody stops talking. And whoever can remember to stop talking first, it's sort of the monkey, with the hands over the eyes, the mouth, and the ears.
Yeah.
So you put your hands over your mouth and you stop talking. And the visual body language is a signal to your partner, okay, right, we're going to stop talking and de-escalate the energy. Wow. That's the first thing. Because it's energy, it's real, it's palpable, it's in their bodies.
Oh, wow.
It's in the room. So the first person who remembers to stop talking stops talking. And then the second thing that I've always done, because a lot of people are runners. They leave emotionally, or they leave physically, or there's a lot of research about this. So a lot of people are runners. So I always say to couples, sit down and grab onto the biggest, heaviest piece of furniture you can, because it will remind you that you're staying, you're committed, you're staying. It's not as scary as you think. Part of you is really scared, but your adult knows that everything will be okay, that you're going to work through this. It's a process, and you're choosing to be here.
Wow. So they literally hold on to keep themselves planted.
Literally hold on to the arm of a couch or the leg of a chair or table. Yep, just hold on. And then when they are ready, when the first person is ready to talk, there's two ways to do this. And let me not forget to tell you the other way, because it's so lovely. So when the first person is getting ready to talk, he or she will say, I'm ready to talk. And so come find me whenever you're ready. Or I'm ready to talk. Is it okay if I leave, or do you want me to stay while you're getting ready?
Wow.
And it's not going to be the same. It'll be different depending on where the hurt is and what the situation is. And if the person says, no, I'd like you to stay, then you just sit down, don't make eye contact with them. You might ask them if it's okay if you pick up your messages. Don't pick up your phone without that person saying, yes, that would be fine. Focus your attention somewhere else. Yeah. Is the message. Not, I don't care that you're in pain. I'm just going to go off and look at my emails.
Yeah, right.
And people heal, people repair, and become willing to come back into connection at different speeds.
Sure. So
not everybody can do that at the same time. If couples realize after doing this once or twice that one of the partners need more time, there's a lovely ritual that I created many years ago. And if you get a vase, or now that they can't leave their homes, grab a tumbler from the kitchen.
Right.
And 2 pencils or 2 straws, something that's differentiated, and put them in a particular place. And if I'm ready to talk first, I will go and pick up the vase. I'll put it in the pre-designated place. and I'll put my straw in it, my flower. Hopefully it's a beautiful vase and it's a silk flower or something. My late husband Mark and I had a beautiful dish, and we traveled a lot, so we had coins from everywhere we traveled, and we had two very, very big coins. And so whoever was ready first went and grabbed the dish and their coin, put the dish in the designated place, and when the other person was ready, they went to look for the dish and the coin. If the dish was gone, then you know your partner's ready. You go and put your dish, your coin, or your flower in the vase, and then you go find your partner. So that you're not waiting for somebody, that you are in the next minute of your life, and you're doing that which is you to do. You can be watching television, take a walk, wash the car, do some work, walk the dog, that you're not waiting, that you're really engaged in that which makes you you. But the door is open, because your partner is going to come find you when they're ready to talk.
Now that's really interesting, because it addresses the different personality types, or however you class that, because there are people, I know I'm someone who, I'm very verbal. I want to deal with everything right now. I'm the person that would stay up all night until we hash it out, right? And I'm married to the person who can fall asleep when there's a tornado. And so for me, I need to learn that. I mean, he just doesn't, if he doesn't want to deal with it now, he's not going to deal with it now. And the more that the person who wants that insists, chases, demands, whatever that looks like, the less the individual who perhaps could be called the runner in this case wants to engage. And so it's each of us looking at our tendencies and having an out for that. So if I, as someone who, what I'm hearing you say is that if I, as someone who wants an immediate discussion and wants to be there, I have to take my energy down, decide, okay, I'm ready to talk, put that out there. But once I put that out there, put that flower in, put that coin in, whatever the ritual is, I am then free to move on. And I don't obsess over, when is this person? Why aren't we talking? When are you coming to me? Right? I allow him his time.
Exactly. Because your sense of urgency has more to do with you than has to do with whatever is happening currently. If our business together is current, if we are emotionally current with each other and something happens in the moment, I don't have that sense of urgency about it. If you've got that kind of sense of urgency, then it's sort of like the iceberg, that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, and what's beneath it is your personal work.
Yes, right. Ooh, yeah. That's good. Being emotionally current. So if I need that interaction right now and I need to solve right now, I'm not being emotionally current. I'm dealing with the stuff under the surface.
Yes, right. Which is yours.
Wow. And the same goes for the individual who wants to walk away and not deal and needs to, as you call, run. I'm sure they're all flavors, right? There are people in between, people that, do you class them sort of as different reaction types to conflict?
Not types, but I look at behavior. So some people shut down. That's called stonewalling.
Okay.
Some people need to leave. Some people can leave mentally. Some people can leave emotionally. Some people leave physically. So there's a whole range of leaving too.
Sure.
So leaving for me, if you can walk through the room and ignore me, so it feels to me like you don't even know I'm there, or you don't care that I'm there, that is tantamount to justifiable homicide.
Yes. Right.
Right? I could never be in a relationship with that person for 5 minutes.
No, that's horrible.
Because I can't tolerate that. There isn't enough therapy or coaching in the world.
It feels like a punishment, doesn't it? It's horrible.
It does. And what I recognize and realize is that is a learned defense.
Yeah.
That person is taking very good care of themselves. But the way somebody takes good care of themselves doesn't have to be good for me.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Right. So that both people have to grow in that situation to be able to change it, to change the way the conflict is managed.
Yes. And with emotionally intelligent couples, the people that really need to leave or to distance say, their version. I always work with them about what are the words that you can say, and to the partner, what are the words that will feel good to hear. But it's always some version of, I love you, I'm not going anywhere, but right now I need to leave the room and I need to do whatever it is I need to do.
Yeah.
But I'll be back.
Right.
And, I'll be back.
Right. And the other person has to trust that and allow for that.
Well, again, I'm not big on trust. I think trust is a giant manipulation.
Ooh, talk about that.
I trust you to not hurt me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, let me just let me just do this piece. So I'm not trusting you. We have an agreement. See, I can only depend on what you agree to do, and I can depend on your word.
Right.
If you tell me something, I'm going to depend on you doing what you say and saying what you do.
Yes.
That's reliable.
Yes.
There's nothing reliable about trust. It's one-sided.
Huh.
But if you make a commitment, if you make an agreement with me, then I know what the agreement is. You know you made it. You know I heard it. And so it has legs. It has life. So I can depend on what you're telling me as you being truthful and honest. And again, if I can't rely on your word, I have a whole different problem.
So trust is one-sided because it's only actionable from one side. I am just choosing to trust you, but you actually have no skin in the game, so to speak. You're not a part of that at all.
Right, exactly. And what I'm trusting you to do, normally what I'm trusting you to do is A, not hurt me, or B, do what I want. And that is not what relationship is about.
Wow. Yep. Right. Versus I love the way you described doing what you say, saying what you do, that reliability versus the trust, which is almost, I don't know if I can even say selfish, but it's self-focused.
Right. I don't know if it's selfish. I think that what it says to me is that people really haven't thought about what it is they need, and they haven't made commitments that they can depend on each other to keep.
Okay.
Because if you make a commitment of any kind for anything, there's no such thing as a little commitment.
Right.
It's like being a little pregnant.
Right.
If you make a commitment, if you don't honor your commitment, it is a betrayal.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, and then it's going to affect me.
Right.
It's going to put a little notch right in my heart. There's a wonderful story about this. So there was a rancher who had a ranch, and he had a big fence all the way around his ranch. And one of his children was really acting out and wasn't speaking kindly or respectfully to his siblings and to his mother. And so the man said to him, go to the barn and get that bucket of nails and a hammer and go out to the back fence, and you hammer nails all the way across the back fence. Mm-hmm. So the kid frumped, and he went to the barn and he got the nails and the hammer, and he went out, and it was hot, and he nailed all these nails into the back fence. And then he came and he said, all right, I'm finished. So his father said, now I want you to go out to the back fence, and I want you to remove all the nails that you just nailed in. Mm. So the kid was not happy and didn't understand what he was doing. So he went out to the back fence and he pulled out all the nails that he had just hammered into the fence. And he came back and he said, all right, I've taken them all out. And his father said, all right, come with me, let's take a walk. And he looked at the holes and he said, touch this fence and touch where the holes are. And the boy put his hand on the fence and actually could feel where the holes were. He said, the nails aren't there anymore, are they? And he said, no. He said, but the fence will always know that the nails were in there. Yeah. The fence will be forever changed by the nails. And that's what happens when you use your words and you're unkind, you're disrespectful, you're hurtful.
Right. Right. Yeah. The holes are always there.
Holes are always there.
Yeah. That's quite an image. That's an amazing image. You bring up children. Let's pivot to that a little bit, because I think what's interesting is the opportunity that we have, the healthier that we can be as adults from a mindset standpoint, from relationships and tools and emotional intelligence, as you call it. And there's an opportunity when we have children, not to be totally responsible for their development, because we can't create perfection that doesn't exist, and they're going to need to go through what they need to go through. But what opportunity do parents have to give their children these tools? What can we do at early ages to help them embrace this way of looking at life?
Many years ago, I did a group with a group of high-level CEOs, women not married, who had either gone through in vitro or had adopted. Mm-hmm. It was a really interesting group. There were probably 15 women in this group, and so an issue came up about turning the television off. I'm ready to go and they're ready to watch television. And they were saying, I just turn the television off. And I say to them, time to go, turn the television off. And I said to her, if I were sitting in your living room and you were going to turn off the television because we needed to leave, would you do that to me? And she said, no. Mm. And I said, well, why are you doing that with your child? How would you handle that with me? And she said, well, I would come in and I would say to you, I'm noticing that it's time to go and we don't want to be late and I need to turn the television off.
Right.
But she had not a clue that that's how she was going to speak to her child. And I said, let me just add a piece. Here's the piece. And I know that you really want to watch the end of the program. And I know it's really going to be hard for you to turn it off now in the middle. And I'm sorry I have to do that. So parenting is really about modeling respect, compassion, empathy, and we really treat children in alignment with our values, not because they're children, but because they are other humans in our home, in our lives.
That's a challenging pivot to make for people that grew up with parents from the generation that, sort of the Dr. Spock generation. Well, I don't even know if I would use that term per se, but it wasn't children were children, right? There wasn't this recognition of them as an individual until they were an adult. But by then, you've molded or you've had a hand in molding them. And so yep. I think we've had the generations, as you look at them, the Depression parents, and then you have the post-war parents, and you have this, what I have seen from a mindset evolution. And if you relate that to parenting, it's only as of late, for the most part, that we have been free to say, wait, within the bounds of still disciplining and bringing up a child who is responsible and someone who is going to give back to society in a way that we would be proud of, this is a person that we must love, respect, and honor and dignify as we would any other person, regardless of their age. That is a more recently embraced thing. That is not something that I know was such a big deal when, all of my parents and their friends were parenting. It was, you're a kid, all the things that means, right? And so that's something that I think that we just have hopefully started to understand. And how do you put that in the context of still needing to discipline a child, needing to show them certain things in life because that's your responsibility? That's a real balance.
Yeah, and when we talk about discipline, that's a whole bucket itself, because one of the things that I try to encourage families to do is to have family meetings, even with little children. Mm-hmm. And family meetings are to discuss, to deliver, if you will, family values, to talk about behavior and to talk about what works, what was good, what wasn't, for the family to decide. I have a wonderful example of that, for the family to decide what should happen. Mm. So I had a client many years ago with 5 or 6 children, anywhere from 3 years old or 4 years old when I first started seeing her until teenagers. Okay. And one of the younger teenage kids had behaved in a way that was really unacceptable and violated the family value. And so they had a family meeting. And the 3-year-old said, would you just tell the truth about your behavior? You did something wrong, and then we can all go do what we were doing.
Oh, my goodness, a 3-year-old. Wow. That's right. Something else, yeah.
The teenager came in one day and said, can I go to the prom and spend the night in the hotel? And please. And so they said, well, let's go have a family meeting and talk to everybody about it and see what we think.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
so they sat down, and she said, I really, really, really want to do it. And her father said to her, is that aligned with our family value?
Mm.
And she thought about it for a minute, and she said, no. And he said, okay. So that they were never in a position to say yes or no, to be the prison guard or to be the bad parent.
Right.
That what they were doing was giving kids a context where they could associate values with behavior, that they could make choices and be a choice in alignment with the family value.
Right. That's excellent. That's maturity in development. We had a family meeting. I have 4 children. We had one the other day after a particularly stressful week for whatever reason. Well, I can give you a lot of them right now, right?
Right.
But I said to them, right now their ages 16 down to 11. And I said to them, okay, guys, go ahead, go around the room and tell me what I did this week that hurt you. Tell me how I can be a better mom. And they were all too happy to share with me the things that bothered them. And I was very happy to hear it. And it was in a situation where they felt comfortable to do that, because when do they get to say that back? You know, if we're managing them in our relationship in the heat of the moment, we tend to shut down their responses. And when I do that, I catch myself and I think, no, I need to hear. I don't need them bottling this up. And I've been watching the teenagers, right? The more they become into the teen years, the more they pull into themselves often, and it's harder and harder to get that out. So I think you give amazing advice about that whatever setup, whatever that looks like, where the family together can say it's safe for us to each speak about each of these things. And, you know, all my kids kind of know what's going on with the other kids to the degree that they're comfortable doing that, so that we each have a say-so as a family unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's such an important lesson, and it's so safe for the kids to really grow up and to feel loved and accepted and seen.
Yes.
It's so deeply important to give children that.
And it's good feedback. It's much like you may have a similar conversation with your spouse. I mean, it's feedback. You know, I'm not the perfect mother by any stretch. I am not the perfect anything. And for me to allow the little people in my life who I am affecting greatly to be able to say to me, Mom, you know what, that hurt me. If I don't catch it, right? You know, Mom, when you did this is how it made me feel. I mean, what better moment can I create for them where they can say that honestly? Because I feel as though they shed it then. And that's one of my goals is to have them shed things, so that when they get older and they call you for coaching in their relationship, they don't have as many issues brought on by their mother, right? Because, you know.
Exactly, because they are emotionally current.
Right.
Exactly right.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So that's a big responsibility. Well, I have to tell you that we are almost coming up on an hour, which I know you and I could go on and on and on, and I don't want to take more than I'm giving. And I have to tell you how much I appreciate your emotional intelligence and appreciate your gift to the world and your unique purpose. I first of all, thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I can't believe it's an hour, but thank you so much. This has been great.
It's really amazing, and a lot of people will get so much help from this. So I did sort of ask you this before, and I want to tell my audience now that you've agreed to do a live Zoom on Facebook. We're going to figure that out. We'll talk about the timing hopefully in 2 weeks or so, and I'll be promoting that. But for you to be able to come on and share some more wisdom in real time, and there's a lot out there that needs to be healed. These are little nuggets that can be life-changing. And there's nothing better than knowing that something that you've put into the world can actually make somebody's life better. So thank you for that. And everybody watch the page for information about another session with Dr. Jackie Black. And also, she has her website at drjackieblack.com. If you want to talk a little bit about some things you're doing, how people can work with you right now to follow this way of living a little more closely, to get more information. Can you just give us kind of an idea of where things are at right now with all of that?
Yes, thank you so much. I just launched a Facebook Live in my business Facebook group, which is Dr. Jackie Black. And I am live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 Eastern for 15, 20 minutes.
Great.
And it really is tips and tools and strategies. I look at anger and conflict and loss and apologizing and just, little tidbits. It's very quick. I want people to know that they are not alone. This is unprecedented what's going on here. Couples are cooped up, right?
Yes.
We can say that, right?
Yes.
And we've never had so many restrictions.
Yes.
And there's so much fear going on, and real things to be afraid of, fear mongering. Don't get me started.
Right. Yeah.
And so I want to be available. So I've just started the Facebook Lives, and the end of the week, rolling out a Facebook group for couples daring to live happily ever after. Because I think in a Facebook group, when it's more private, people will feel more comfortable to really ask questions. And I'll do pop-up Facebook Lives in there too, to really be able to be of as much value as I possibly can be to people.
That's amazing. And it is so needed right now. So you are very much for such a time as this, because we are definitely all facing all those things you listed. And I also have been telling my group, this is an opportunity. I, for one, would like all my relationships to come out stronger at the end of this. But when we're forced to face things and we can't leave the house and run away from them, we have a choice. You face it and fix it, or you face it and hide. So, my prayer for everyone is that their lives are enriched by the choice that was foisted upon them to stay home, right? Not our choice. So we have a choice of how we look at it. So I thank you for offering that. I am sure that so many people listening to this will want to jump in on that. I know I'll be jumping in on that on the Facebook group. So thank you again, and stay safe, stay well.
Thank you so much. And you stay safe and stay well, you and your family. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Jackie. And everybody will be back next week with another podcast. But look for, if you're not a member of the Facebook group, go to Master Your Mindset Academy in Facebook and join. And we will definitely have more of these things available to you. And we will be announcing the Live with Dr. Jackie. So get ready for that. It's going to be exciting. Everybody be blessed and stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, if you want to be part of a free online community of like-minded individuals for support, resources, and inspiration as you conquer your limiting beliefs and pursue your purpose, go to elizabethnader.com/community. That's elizabethnader.com/community, or search for Master Your Mindset Academy private group on Facebook. Looking forward to seeing you online.